Okay, today we'll discuss SAP ABAP OpenSQL statements. First, we'll see what is OpenSQL and what is native SQL. Or is to access the so what is OpenSQL? So in SAP ABAP we use OpenSQL statements to select the data from the data dictionary tables. Okay, so OpenSQL is database independent. So you don't need to write SQL statements specific to a database, backend database, right? These OpenSQL statements are same for any backend database. If ABAP developer implements the statements in OpenSQL in any program, so the system will automatically convert those OpenSQL statements into native SQL statements as per the backend database. Okay, so ABAP developer no need to worry about the backend database and their respective SQL statements. SQL means structured query language, which we use to access the database tables, right? By using select statements, right? So you guys have already observed select statements. Select statements, what type of select statements we have implemented as of now? Is it native or open? We have implemented the open SQL statements. Okay. So they are common for any database, any backend database. What is the backend database for S4 HANA? What is the backend database for S4 HANA?
HANA database.
HANA database, right? HANA database. So S4 HANA is pre-built with the HANA database and SAP recommends to use same. So S4 HANA runs on HANA database. But previously we have ECC servers. Still in many projects we have ECC servers where they are database independent. The backend database can be anything, including Oracle, MS SQL, Sybase, DB2. So depends on the customer requirement. They'll use different backend databases, right? They might change after some time also. Initially they are using Oracle. Due to some licensing issues, they can migrate their database to Microsoft SQL Server also in future, right? When they did that migration or when they did the changes in database, what happens to our programs which are accessing data from the database, backend database? If you write native SQL statements, if you write native SQL statements like specific to Oracle, you implemented one native SQL statement, right? Once the database is migrated, what you need to do? You need to convert all these native SQL statements
SQL statement.
according to the new database, right? Otherwise, your native SQL statements are not going to work on different database, correct? Because you
Yes, sir.
implemented
Yes.
statements related to a specific database, Oracle. So that is the disadvantage of using native SQL
Native
statements. If
statements.
there is any changes in the database, you have to change all your programs to change all your native SQL statements according to the new database. That's why SAP always recommends to use open SQL
Open
statements,
SQL statements.
right? So that system will automatically convert those open SQL statements into native SQL statements in background. Depends on the database, right? So if there is any change in the
Yes.
database, your programs or any other logics are not going to be impacted, right? They'll work as it is, even though you changed the backend database. No changes required, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
So few open SQL statements are select, insert, update, modify, delete. There are few other, right? These are few important open SQL statements, right? You're already familiar with select statements. What is native SQL?
Statements particular to that database.
Yes, these are database dependent, right?
statements.
So SAP always recommends to use what kind of statements? Open SQL or native SQL?
Open SQL statements.
Open SQL statements. Because if there is any change in the database in future, so there is no complexity involves in changing your existing programs and business logic, right? There is no impact on the existing applications, even though you change the database, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is a very important interview question also. In SAP S4 HANA also we implement open SQL statements, okay? Even though SAP HANA is its own SAP's own database, SAP always recommends use open SQL statements, not the SQL statements related to
Native.
HANA, native SQL statements related to SAP HANA. Okay, we should always use open SQL statements. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's check the open SQL statements one by one. You are already familiar with select statements. Now let's see insert. What is insert?
Insert is used to insert the
SAP
record.
Insert record at a certain point.
Not certain point, to database
create a
tables.
new record.
Yeah, insert
Okay, sir.
new records or insert or create. You can also say create.
Okay.
Yes.
Create the new records to database tables, right? So here by using insert statement, you can create a single record using work area, multiple records using internal table, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Syntax syntax is like this: insert into database table, values from work area. Okay, this is to insert a single record, right?
Yes, sir. Insert.
Now let's assume we have multiple records in one internal table and we need to insert all the records at once. So what is the syntax for that?
Insert into table.
Insert work area into IT table, index 1 or 2.
That is for internal table, right? Whatever the syntax you said, that is to insert records into internal table. Now where we are inserting the records?
Database table.
Database tables permanently, which can store records permanently,
Yes, sir.
right? Internal table memory is temporary. From
Into
table, internal table. Okay, this is to insert multiple records.
into.
Into is not required when we
Okay,
are
sir.
using internal table.
From.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so let's say there is a table with employee ID as primary key, and we're trying to insert we have already insert employee ID 100, and again we are trying to insert employee ID 100. Is it going to accept?
No, sir.
No, because
It's a primary key
yeah,
unique record.
table is the primary key. It will always, the table records will be always uniquely maintained by the table primary key,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir. Sir, here also can we mention any index, sir, like for database tables also?
Sorry, what is it?
For inserting the data into the database tables, can we mention index?
No, here we don't mention index. It will automatically insert in the insertion order. No, it won't maintain any index. Okay,
Okay.
here we don't maintain any index.
Okay, sir.
So what is update statement? To update or change the existing
Record.
records. Database table, right? So it is to change the existing record of the database table. Can we change
Yes,
all
sir.
the fields?
Primary key fields only.
We can change only non-primary key
Non-primary
field
key.
values. Okay? Key fields cannot be changed. We can delete the record. We can delete the complete record, but you cannot change the key fields. Okay?
So,
So syntax to update the database table is update database table name from work area. First, you need to collect that record into work area and you need to update the values and pass that updated record to updated statement, right? If record is not available, update statement will fail. Okay? It cannot
yes,
update
sir.
any record. For example, if you are trying to update a record employee ID 100, but that 100 record is not at all available in the table, then what will happen?
There is no
The
update
update
space.
statement will fail. Okay? And it cannot update anything because that record is not there, right? How can you know that update statement is fail? Equal to 4. Okay? Clear? Then when the update statement is fails, sub RC value will be failed. Okay? There is one more way of using update statement. Using from work area is one way, right? Update database table from work area. The other alternative is using where condition. Update the record by using where condition. So how to do that? Update db table set column 2 equal to lv underscore value 2 comma column 3 equal to some value, whatever the value you want. You can also pass hard coded values 3, like that. You can pass different columns what you need to update. Column n value and where and the where condition. For example, uh, column 1 equal to some 100, right? You can pass the where condition like this. So to update the database table by using a where
Where
condition.
condition.
Okay,
So,
this is other option to update the existing record. Instead of collecting that record into work area, for example, you need to update employee name. Let's assume column 2 is employee name. Then you can use update z employee set column employee name equal to that new employee name, where employee ID equal to 100. It will update that particular record. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, how to update data multiple records? How to update multiple records using internal table data? Let's assume we have an internal table with collection of records and we need to update all the records at once. Let's take this as option 3. Update database table name. So you don't use these brackets, okay? So in place of these brackets, what you need to use?
Name.
Whatever the table name we need to pass. Okay?
Yes, sir.
From table, internal table. Okay? This is to update the records from internal table.
Data.
Okay? Clear? This is about update statement. Let's check what is modify. So what the modify statement will do?
The existing data when we change
So modify statement will update.
and insert.
Okay? So it will update the existing record and inserts a new record if that specified record is not available in
Not
the table.
only
If the record is available, it will update. If the record is not available with that key, right? With that primary key combination, if the record is available, it will update. It will change the existing record. If the records are not available, if that particular record is not available, what it will do?
it inserts the new record.
It will insert a new record. It will create a new record. So it is combination of
Update and insert.
update and insert.
Insert.
Okay. So the syntax to use modify is modify database table from work area if it is a single record. If you need to modify single record, if you need to modify multiple records, collect the records into one internal table, then pass that internal table to modify statement. Okay, like this. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we have one more statement, that is
Delete.
delete. What is delete? Is it to delete records temporarily or permanently?
Um,
Is the statement is going to delete the records permanently or temporarily?
Permanently, sir.
Permanently. Whatever the statements we are discussing here, they are going to change or create or delete the records from database tables permanently.
Permanently,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So delete statement is used to delete the records from database table permanently. But when you apply this on internal table, that is temporarily during the program runtime. Okay.
Yes, sir. Understand, sir.
So we can delete records from work area, internal table, or using a where condition. Okay. So we can delete the records from internal table, work area, and also from using where condition. For example, delete from database table where city equal to Hyderabad. So what it will do? It will delete all the records where the record
City
contains
equal to.
city as Hyderabad. If you want to delete all Hyderabad employees, right? Where city equal to Hyderabad, it will delete all the records from database table. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Syntax is like this: delete, delete database table from work area. This is one way of doing this. The other alternative is delete db tab. I think delete from, where, for example, some column 1 equal to some x. Okay. So this is to delete the records by using where condition.
Where condition.
Okay. This is to delete records from internal table. Collect the records into an internal table and delete all the records at once. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the very important interview question, the most frequently asked interview question is about update and modify. Okay, the difference between update statement and modify statement. So what is the difference? So update statement will update the existing record of the database table, but modify table will update the
It will
database table as well as create a new
Insert.
record if that existing record is not available, like whatever the record we are passing is not available. Okay, so after performing these database operations, what is required? Commit work to commit the changes to database. Okay, rollback work is to revert the changes when sub RC is not equal to 0. We use rollback work, but we don't need to use externally after the program execution. A default commit will be executed automatically once the program execution is completed. Okay, but when we use this commit work and rollback work explicitly, for example, we are updating four database tables, right? For example, we are updating four database tables in the same program, and we need to make sure the first database table is successfully updated and the record is created in the database. Then only we have to go for second database update. So then you need to execute the commit work immediately after the insert statement or update statement. Okay, if commit work is successful, then update the next table. Okay, so depends on the requirement, you are going to use commit work statement, but it is not mandatory because after the program execution a default commit will execute and it will complete all the changes in database. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Always make sure don't use commit statements in enhancements. There might be a baddie, user exit, customer exit, or implicit, explicit. Don't implement commit works in enhancements.
Enhancements.
Why? Because even before completing the transaction, so when you are executing a standard transaction code, it's going to update or it's going to create records in multiple database tables, right? For example, if you are
Yes, sir.
executing VA01, in how many tables it's going to create the records? It will create the records in VBAK, VBAP, VBFA, VBPA, more than 15, 20 tables. Once you
Yes, sir.
created the sales order, it will update all the data to 10 to 15 tables, right? So in
Yes, sir.
between,
Yes,
you implemented an enhancement and you executed the commit work. Then what it will do? Even before creating the sales order, even before it is successfully completed, you are confirming all the changes to database, right? That should
even if
not
it is
happen.
not done.
All the database changes should happen only after all the updates are successfully completed. Okay.
Yes, sir.
If
Yes,
all
sir.
the commit work, if there is any further issue, it will update partial tables, few tables, and it won't update few other tables like that. Okay, so that's why you should never call commit work statements in
Enhancements.
enhancements. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so these are the open SQL statements, and we need to create examples on this. right? They're very simple. What we'll do, we'll create custom tables, right? We'll create custom tables and we'll take file as input and we'll try to update data from the files to custom tables instead of using what is the other option to enter the records to a custom table.
Standard equals.
How to maintain data in standard tables? Sorry, in any table. How to maintain the data in standard table or custom tables?
Fields, huh?
How to maintain the records in the table?
To through TMG, sir.
Yes, through table maintenance generator, right?
Yes, sir.
If it is a custom table, we create a maintenance screen and we maintain the records. If it is a master data, right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so you can use these upload programs to update the bulk records to these custom tables without using maintenance screen. Okay. So when you don't have BDC, BAPI, then at that time, if it is a custom requirement, if they are custom tables, we need to use this direct table DB statements to create the records. Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
You can also create a BAPI function module, a custom BAPI function module, right? To update
Yes,
the
sir.
custom tables. But inside the BAPI, what are the statements you are going to use?
Open SQL.
These statements only: insert, update, delete, right?
Yes, sir.
If you
So,
go and check any transaction code, if any standard program, right? What are the statements they use to create the records or to update the records? These OpenSQL statements only. Okay?
yes.
But they won't directly execute. They perform hundreds of validations before going to create that record or before going to delete that record,
Yes, sir.
right? But at the end, they have to call insert, update, or delete statements only, right?
So,
Okay. In the next session, we'll create the example. Okay.